Hello, I'm live again. Hi. I'm still getting on Discord, so let me. There's a little bit of a whoopsie. Oh, come on, really? Okay, Discord's not going back up yet. I'm on the internet though. I should be streaming.
Enche a praia de fogo.
Hi. Hello. We're on. We're like
Hello!
on still.
Yay!
I don't know what the last thing you heard me say was.
Oh, I think it was you were talking about your partner who does translation, and you were talking about how different it is when the translation is done in house, and I think that's when it was cut out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much that's what yeah. Um but to be very clear, I really enjoyed the work that y'all did. I think it's like a really sharp translation of I mean I can't read Portuguese obviously, but like it to me it seems like a really sharp translation. And a lot of like uh yeah it's very like as a game I think just very like very very like tightly made, and I would I
Thank
kind of want to play it now.
Yeah, I think like
Yeah.
the fun thing with the translation is that even if we're like constantly, in touch with the English language, and I work with a lot of people who are not from Brazil, and there's still the matter that none of us is a native speaker.
Mm,
Yeah.
So what happens is I translated half, Naomi translated half, and then we compared notes,
Mm-hmm.
and then we just read everything together, and we were like, okay, does this sound right? Would it sound better if we said the same thing with different words? And we tried like step by step. And there was even some point that like we released the English version, and I got some messages from people who follow
Guys.
me frequently that read the book, and they were like, "Yeah, I think this part is a little weird. It sounds a little weird to me.
mm.
Uh, it would feel better if it was
Oi.
written something like that." And I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense."
Yeah, I guess that's the hope,
Because
is that folks reach out.
there are some things that we just don't get, like by not being native English speakers, and that's why like we are amateur translators. Like we are translating because we needed to,
Hmm.
and it's Wild Ties is a passion project. It's a small project, so we were like, no, we're gonna do this.
Yeah,
so so yeah, but we stumbled through these situations where we were like, okay, we're not sure what's the best way to speak that,
Hmm.
because we never had to say something like that in English before.
Yes, and we would like repeat it out loud.
Ai, teu
Eh,
microfone tá esquisito de novo.
Ah, meu Deus. Eu dei uma caída. Sorry.
you're good.
uh, my connection my connection is messing with me right now.
Ah, gotcha.
Okay, I'll try to fix it. You guys can go on.
Okay.
Right.
We got a question from Papa Cola 00 in the chat. When did you consider the game done? That's always a hard question. Like, I do feel like from what I read of Wild Tides, it seems like it has a pretty like clear endpoint, but I'm curious if there were difficulties with like that element.
So here's the thing. I like to finish things quickly. So it was like I wrote some stuff and I was like, okay, I think this is how far I want to go. But then the more we read it together, I was like, nah, it needs a little bit more.
Yeah, gotta put some juice
But
Yeah.
in there.
it was like I consider the game done all the time. And then I
Way,
constantly
way
read
before
it back.
Danny.
And then I constantly read it back and I'm like, no, okay, no, it's not done yet. I'm gonna do it a little bit more. Like it's the opposite of the person who is always doing a little bit more and it's never done. For me, it's always done until I reread it and I'm like, nah, it needs a little bit more.
I'm being
Yes, it
reminded
was
that
okay.
sorry.
Do I sound better now?
Yes, you sound good. I'm being reminded that I forgot my birds. We're sending in the birds. There we go. Okay, the bird is here. And Trevor, the
Hey.
interview bird, is here. Um, but yeah, I I'm the opposite. I keep adding shit to my games. It's bad. It's listen, it is what it is. But yeah, I that's something that I actually really respect is knowing when to stop. I think like knowing how to make a really like concise game is so important. Um, and yeah, so I'd love to talk about kind of your both your influences. What are I guess kind of starting in TTRPGs, but you can also kind of lean out of that if you'd like to. What are games or other works that like really inspired you
Okay.
or
Do
continue
you
to
want to
inspire
start
you?
this one, Naomi?
Sometimes your voices just go away
Oh
and
no.
then it
Oh,
comes back. I don't know why, but do you guys know you can be a birdman in white ties? Since
yeah.
everyone seems to love birds,
Good. Um,
it, it
I'll
can
try and
happen.
say what I said again. What like games have inspired you or are currently inspiring you?
Oh, okay. Everything powered by the apocalypse. So, right, because it's a powered by the apocalypse tabletop RPG,
Mhm.
and I love it. I love PBTA so much. I'm writing a second game using PBTA, so I just love PBTA. Like Dungeon World is my main PBTA, and I use it a lot for white ties. Like Michelle just said, she's like, "Oh, it's done," and I was like, "Hey, Michelle, there's this from Dungeon Worlds. We should include something like this." And she's like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense." And that's why the game wasn't finished in like 2 or 3 days.
Fair. What was the game that you mentioned?
Dungeon World. It's like D&D but
Oh
PBTA.
yes, Dungeon World. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Dungeon World's interesting.
Uh,
Dungeon World has a history that I won't necessarily
yeah.
go into right now. But yeah,
Yeah.
that is an inspiration for a lot of tabletop games, I think. So you're definitely in good company. And
I
Michelle,
think in
any
the
yeah.
yeah, I think in the inspiration thing, it was like I knew TTRPGs existed, but I hadn't played it until I was like in college. And then some friends were like, "Hey, I just got the like D&D." No, it wasn't even D&D. It was the Game of Thrones book, and I was like, "Yeah, Game of Thrones was very high at the time. It was very big." And like, "Yeah, let's play Game of Thrones." I couldn't play it because it was on one of those. Oh, can everybody go on Saturday? No, I can't go on Saturday. Can everybody go on Thursday? No, I can go on Thursday. So I created a character and I never played it. But then I played D&D 3.5. I didn't understand the game, but I played it. Um, but like for a while, for a few years, I thought like I had a very small scope of what TTRPGs could be because all the ones that I had seen were kind of similar. Actually, it was always like sword and sorcery and stuff like that. Um, and then when it was when was it 2020? I think like I already knew Naomi for a long time, but she was part of this. She is part of this social project called Contos Lúdicos, and they were doing like live streams during the pandemic. And she invited me to play a game, and we played Savage Words.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, this is a different game." And then I started like just tagging around. I became part of the social project. I got to know so many different games that and I think the biggest inspiration for me for Wild Ties, it was like I'm not very good with numbers.
Oh,
I'm not the greatest with numbers. So when I see those games are like really focused on the narrative of the things and the numbers on your character sheet and the dice are like, oh, this is a tool to help you tell the story, and I finally got it. Right, I understood what appealed to me in TTRPGs, and I was like, yeah, I want to make Wild Ties very simple. I want
Yeah.
to make it simple. I want to make it super easy to just grab it and start playing, and you look at your character sheet and you don't have to spend a lot of time looking for information. So when Naomi proposed that we follow the Powered by the Apocalypse formula, I was like, no, yeah, this works. This is great.
Mm, like
Hell yeah.
we didn't write White Ties to earn money and or to be famous. We just wrote it because we wanted it to exist. So
Yeah.
we didn't want to have lots of work. We wanted to make a fun thing. It was fun working on it.
Yeah.
We didn't want to make like tables of numbers and lots of pages with statistics and stuff. It's different from CDR. I made CDR partially because I wanted money, because like, oh, this is a fun fact. I'm a lawyer,
Neat.
and lawyers don't earn much in Brazil.
All right.
So I wanna be a writer. I wanna live from writing. So that was partially why I wrote CDR, because I wanted to sell a book. But White Ties, I didn't want to sell it. I just wanted to have fun with my friends and maybe share it with more people.
Yeah. That's why we chose to make Wild Ties available for a low price, because we just wanted like, okay, we're gonna put a little bit of a price here just because we did have a lot of work with this game, but at the same time, it's it's more of a symbolic price, right? It's more like, yeah, we want people to play it. We want people to grab it and play it, and it doesn't matter if we're not getting a lot of money out of it, just because it's fun to do it.
Yeah, like we are selling it, but if you come to me and say, Naomi, I can't buy it, I will give it to you. It's
Yeah.
not a problem. Just buy it if you wanna make me happy. If you can't, that's fine. I will give it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
100%.
I feel that. Like, I feel like a lot of my projects are fashion projects. I think that's a good perspective to come at some things from. But also, yeah, sometimes you gotta get that bag. Sometimes you gotta make money. Um, absolutely.
Yeah. I
Um,
feel like for me specifically, this matter of money, it's like Uh, game design is a hobby for me. I am primarily an illustrator. I want to be known as an illustrator. I am an illustrator. That's my work, right? So if you call me to illustrate a book, I'm gonna do my best damn job at it, and I'm gonna charge for it appropriately. But if I'm just designing a game, you can be sure that I'm doing it because I find it fun, right?
yeah,
If I ever design a game, every time I design a game, it's just because I'm having fun with it. Because to me, that's a hobby. Like for Naomi, writing is her job. For me, not necessarily. So if I'm designing a game, it's absolutely just out of passion.
And someday, this is my dream. I will be able to stop being a lawyer and just write.
Yeah.
yeah. I
It's
definitely
hard.
feel that.
It's so hard. It's so hard to be a lawyer. You've seen the movies, guys. It's hard. I don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, both my parents went to law school, and both of them tried, doing law for some amount of time, and then, just swapped education because uh, law's
It's
tough.
so sucky. Yes. It destroys your soul. You know that song "Don't Be a Lawyer"? That's the song.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Kind of moving on from that. Are there any games that are out now or coming up that are kind of catching your eye or that you're really enjoying? Tabletop role playing games. I would say especially.
Do you
I
have
have to,
any?
I have to think a little bit because I think the ones that I was really looking forward have just came out, and then there are some that I'm looking forward, but I'm working on them, so I can't talk about them yet.
Right.
There is
So
this
there's that.
there's this one, I don't remember the name of it, but it was like a Souls-like tabletop RPG with dolls, and I loved it so much.
Oh yeah,
But
that one you showed me.
yes, do you remember that? But
I remember it was
the
like
Kickstarter,
super goth and super creepy
yes,
Huh.
dolls.
super creepy. I like this stuff. But the Kickstarter didn't they didn't reach their goals,
That's
so the
sad.
project, yes, was put to a pause.
Damn. Um. Yeah. That's neat. That sounds neat. I Cool. Well, let me look at the time here. Um. I think if I have any other questions before we go into news. Um. I Let me think here. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about that, Doc. um,
I
We working
wonder.
together.
I wonder if
I
there's a game.
Okay, so I'm writing a game called what was it called? Oh, Moondog. It's about dolls.
ooh,
That's why I was so excited about the other doll game, and this project has no artist yet. So maybe
yeah. Neat.
I'm still
Yeah.
writing it, and it's been so hard because I decided to use a new mechanics with D10,
Oh,
and
fun.
it's it's not working. I have to make it work somehow, and it's not.
Oh yeah, that happens.
One doll. Cool.
Mundo, yes, because in Portuguese, mundo, right, is
Right.
word, so it's doll word.
Very cool. Um, okay, apparently, according to Duff, we can talk about it. All three of us are working on Isle of Dr. Moreau, which is a to change big
Yeah.
book, which I think will be cool. Um, I'm doing two characters for that. And I think Michelle, you're doing art. Naomi, are you doing a character or something for that?
I'm doing two characters as
Hell
well.
yeah. Um,
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
I'm
was
doing
so
art
fun.
for that. I am
Yeah,
actually a little late because I've had a ton of technical problems these past 2 months, and now I'm just running back to keep up with progress.
yeah.
yeah,
But I got one character nearly ready, and then I'm waiting for some information to get started on the second one. But I'm gonna be doing like a few characters for this one.
Cool.
you're going to draw my character, right? One of them.
Yes, yes, I'll be drawing one of yours.
The the purchased.
Yeah.
Okay, it changed a lot, just so you know, from the first time we talked.
Yeah, I imagine like like we
Changed
had a
a lot.
draft for a character and then we're like, no, the whole species of the character is gonna change. And like for
Yeah,
me who thinks about things visually, I'm like, okay, scrap everything. Because if you change
yeah,
like the animal of the character, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to redo this
yeah.
one.
Yeah.
You have to change who he is if you change the animal, because being an animal changes you.
Yeah, it has
So
to fit. Like that's a thing with Wild Ties too, where like we have
it's
like the whole animal transformation thing. But the fun way to think about it, in my opinion, is just like this is a change that reflects the character in some way, or that conflicts with the character in some way. This is just part of life. It's just change. It's something that happens.
yeah.
Yeah. Neat. Oh yeah, but one thing I do actually want to ask about, and I don't know if either of you have like experience with this. Um, so a thing that I've spoken about or discussed somewhat in previous episodes is the idea of like um, RPGs in RPGs in like kind of other like non-English speaking parts of the world, like popular RPGs. Do either of you two know like if there are any RPGs that might be surprising to the audience that are more popular in say like Brazil or the broader Portuguese speaking world?
Yeah, there are lots of Brazilian games. Like there is this game called Kalimba,
Hmm.
which is about African fantasy. and there was a starter to make an English version. It reached their goals, and it's in production right now. Kalimba with a thingy,
K, I think,
a,
right?
a double I,
Was it
and
double?
yeah.
Yeah.
We have like Tormenta. I know Michele isn't such a fan of Tormenta, but it's a big Brazilian tabletop RPG. I think it's worth mentioning. It's
Yeah.
very, very big and it's very old. And like
Tormenta.
they have some
Oh
lives in
yeah.
English presenting the game. And we have a lot of indie games as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think one like surprising things. I'm not sure because like the things that I see from outside of Brazil that are popular here are often popular in other places as well.
Hmm.
But we do have this like Tormenta and some other national RPGs are getting quite popular. So we have like this growing scene around here that is really grabbing attention of people. Some of them more than the foreigners, the foreign RPGs. Like there are some Brazilian RPGs that got people into RPGs, got a huge amount of people into RPGs, like Ordem
Yes.
Paranormal, for example.
Paranormal Order, I just checked out. It's called Paranormal Order.
Oh, it's called
Paranormal
Param.
Order.
It has an English name. Okay, yeah, it's like it got so many new people into RPGs, right?
Oh
And
boy.
it's because there is a new interest in RPGs here in Brazil.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, the White Wolf games are also fairly popular around here. Like you
Hmm.
always find people playing them.
Oh yeah. Do you know why?
Why?
It's because a long time ago it was cheaper than D&D in Brazil.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh yeah, there's that. Like
That's the reason.
I think that's the reason that a lot of RPGs got big in Brazil because it was cheaper than D&D. Because uh, like it's still not super cheap around here if you compare to national releases.
Right.
Um, but like back then, like 90s, early 2000s, it was unreasonable to get D&D like price wise. So like okay, D&D is the most popular one. What are the other alternatives? So you had a lot of magazines that did uh simple systems so people could role play whichever video game was popular at the time, you know. Then there was a lot of the White Wolf games. I've had teachers in college who couldn't shut up about Vampire the Masquerade because they grew up with that.
Right.
It was my first game as well, Vampire. The first RPG I ever played was Vampire. And I was the storyteller, by the way.
Cool. Yeah, that's really interesting. Like that's fascinating to me. Because I know like for example, I almost said Corruption of Champions. Call of Cthulhu is very popular in Japan. Um, uh,
Oh,
so like I think that there is a trend of like a game cheaper or perhaps more interesting to certain cultural sensitivities being more popular in outside of the U.S. and
oh,
I guess you
I
could say
have one. I have one that's surprisingly popular around here. It's not like super big, but it has this niche. It's the retro punk RPG, and we were
oh
responsible for the popularization of it here.
Yes, both of us actually.
oh neat
Yes, because it got a Brazilian version, right? And it was a fairly small release, but we made like a bunch of live streams. Naomi worked on the first live stream with the publisher to like showcase the game to people, and then she invited me to another one, and then I made another one, and we started connecting a lot of stories with live streams, and
Yeah,
there was
we
like
made
there was a noticeable niche of people who were very excited about retropunk, and I feel like we played a big part on that.
Yes, because we made like the release game. It was a game celebrating the releasing of the game and showing it to potential buyers. So it was really nice, and this game was played with friends of us. Like
Yeah.
there was oh, this guy, he has to be here. No, it was like, Naomi, who do you want to be here? And I just invited my friends. It was
Yeah.
so fun, and Michele made beautiful art for it as well.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
Hell yeah.
And I can't use that art because it has copyrighted images, so I can't use it again. I just did it for the sake of it. But the picture that I took, I had no rights to use the picture as a base for the drawing, so I don't use it on my portfolio or anything like that.
Like take the
It-
curse out and just put a new car there.
I think I can. I think I can just get a new car because the problem is the car. I didn't want to draw the car, so I just took a
Like,
picture from someone
it,
else. But that
it's
picture
like,
is beautiful.
yeah, it's
Sometimes you
like
gotta be scrappy with it.
for
Yeah,
girls around a car, a modern car, cyberpunk car thingy. It's like a wallpaper. It's beautiful.
yeah, yeah. I think I can redo that. I'm gonna.
Redo that.
but
Come on.
but yeah, and like it became one of my favorite RPGs actually,
Same.
and we got a lot of people, like a lot of people's eyes into that. I think it was at some point that one of the writers who worked in the game I think she also illustrated some stuff.
Mhm.
We were talking about it, and she reached to us in Twitter, and she was like, "Oh, people are playing it."
Yes, it's the Banana Girl thingy who wrote the trans community in the game, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and like this game is really cool because there is this trans community inside this cyberpunk city, and they fight to get hormones from the pharmacies, and they give it free for trans youth. It's so beautiful. I love it.
Fantastic.
yeah. It's a very well written and really nice piece, and it's one of the things that got us interested in the game. It was that chapter,
Yes, and what I
and
do when we play the release game, I use this lore to show people the game, so people know this is like a good game, a game that talks about inclusivity and trans people and diversity. And I think lots of people learned the game from us.
yeah.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. We're coming up around an hour. How do we feel about going through our news really quickly and then taking a break and then answering emails?
Absolutely.
Hell yeah. I will remember the birds. Coming from just a beautiful mountain vista, taking in the fresh mountain air. It's Cordis the news bird. Um, and yeah. So we don't actually have much this week, but I want to go through it nonetheless. Main things are well, hang on. Let me wait a minute. Okay, yes. So the first story, which was interesting, I encountered this. This is not even like really the sphere that I'm in, but it was kind of a surprise to see like uh some World of Darkness discourse. Speaking of White Wolf and World of Darkness, so the community developer for World of Darkness wrote this thread about their Family Spotlight series, where they, go through part of the World of Darkness news streams, where they go through fan content, and they are now not going to be uh, taking fan content anymore because a person who was frequently on there, um, who at first was like really happy about it, and then kind of got mad about it because their work was being put up without their permission, uh, complained, and then they kind of incited some shit. You're doing better than I, as I think everyone running, hosting, etc. The ship needs a bloody good slap. Um, some very, and then also just a lot of kind of threatening language in those. Someone who replied to this Lore by Night guy again. Let's throw them inside a pit full of angry wolves and see if they shout, "Those are some huge dogs!" right before they get mauled. Um, Unfortunate. Uh, it's a complicated situation, right? Because like, I'll give my thoughts on this, and then if you two have any thoughts on it, feel free. Um, Actually, no,
They
fuck it.
have a
What
heart
do
of
you two
gold.
think?
Don't let them take it from you.
Okay, so
I can give my take first, so, if you want.
yes,
Okay. My,
please.
my my take on this is that I think this is really complicated because I think that they're making a good decision by not showing stuff without permission. Like I think that like there is sometimes a thing where like companies believe that they have full ownership to the fandom of their work, but also it seems like whoever this guy is like a real piece of fucking work. Not this guy, but this Lore by Night guy seems like a real piece of work, and his fandom also seems like a piece of work. And like it is sad that the reason why they're doing this is because of like harassment from their community. Um, yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious to hear what either of you think.
Okay, so World of Darkness is a community, a difficult one. I've heard lots of weird stuff from this community. I love vampire, werewolf, but I don't love the people around it.
Hmm.
So uh, I'm a bit lost, to be honest, because I was trying to fix my connection problems and I didn't get most of it. But I think you can never be too careful with World of Darkness community.
Fair.
Can you explain to me real quickly again what happened?
Yeah, I can go back over it. So the World of Darkness streams, their news streams, they're like weekly news streams. For over
Mm-hmm.
3 years, had this like family spotlight where they would go over art and such from the fans, and then
Mm-hmm.
they got some pushback from a guy who, in the past, they had shown whose writing they had shown in the past. This Lore by Night guy, um, and then suddenly after this guy stopped sharing his works, he got mad at them. Um, and so they've decided they are not going to show any works that are not from people who have requested to have their work shown. Um,
I
which,
think I
yeah,
think that's a good decision, a professional decision. Like if you
Yeah.
yeah, right, you can be too careful, especially with Vampire the Masquerade community. They are weird. I'm part of them, but they are weird.
Yeah, I
um,
think I can speak much about the community thing because I'm one of those people that I don't like conflict. I run away from conflict, so I don't see much of what goes on sometimes on those communities. But like, I think uh the not showing things without consent is a good move in general. I'm 100% on that side, and like I think as long as speak about it openly, say, oh, okay, now our showcase will be uh, exclusive to people who ask us to showcase them.
mhm.
Uh, then I think there's like no reason to be that mad about it, at least from what I've seen. Uh, because here's the thing, I am okay with, oh, you just show my work somewhere and you refer to my pages. You say, oh, this is Michelle. You can find her on this website, this social media. This is her gallery. I think that's perfectly fine. I actually had a mention of me on Kotaku once,
Oh,
and they didn't put my showcase because they didn't ask for permission. Like Kotaku,
right.
and I was like, oh, if they had asked, I would have given them the okay, because it was
Yeah.
a cool, fun article, and I was like, yeah, I would love to be in this article. But I think it was very polite of them to just mention me, but not put my stuff because they didn't ask me for permission. I was okay if they didn't have the time for that or anything. They didn't want to wait for my response to publish the article. I think that's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that definitely makes
like
sense.
I'm a lawyer and I play tabletop RPGs, and there's always the possibility of suing people. And if I'm a lawyer and I play, there are other lawyers, and sooner or later they're gonna be sued. So try to avoid it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I think I think those are very good perspectives on that. I it's definitely interesting. I I think it's really interesting that they like called the guy out specifically. I think it's actually maybe good that they did. Um, but yeah, it's kind of a messy situation. I don't think they should have been showing that stuff without credit. It's good that they're. I actually don't know what the credit situation is on that. I shouldn't say that they didn't show without credit because I actually have not watched those streams. I shouldn't say that, but like it looked like it didn't have credit just based on the screenshot they showed. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much that story. Let's. I'm gonna quickly go through some zine month highlights that I would like to point towards. Some stuff that I think is really interesting or good. One thing that you can't actually fund anymore because I missed it, but it's fine. Um, Death Game, which has art by my acquaintance Hodag, who's a very great like old school style TTRPG artist. This game looks great. It's kind of a Hunger Games ish RPG, but in like the you know the less like sanitized movie version and more the terrifying, awful like uh, people are getting their heads lopped off, people are throwing spears at each other type game. Um, it looks great. All the art looks like so stylish. And this is funding, so definitely give this a look. It is like overfunded, but let me see if there are any stretch goals. Oh, sorry. Can you not? Oh no, yeah, that's fine. I should probably change the filter though. I don't know why I got color keyed. Sorry about that. Um, and this is let me just see if I can get down
I
to the
love the
stretch
hatching
goals.
on the art.
Yeah, Hodag
Just the
Hodag is
hatching
such a good
work on the
artist.
art looks so good.
This looks so awesome. I
Uh,
love horror movies and all this stuff. So
it looks like they've hit all their stretch goals, but you should still buy it. Like, it looks really cool. Um,
you know what happens when you buy it? You get it.
you receive it at some
Yeah.
point. Um,
Yes.
Yeah, we got a game.
yeah. I'm also going to this is already funded, but it looks cool. I'm just interested to see when this comes out. It is a karaoke tabletop role playing games. You do karaoke and
Oh.
tell stories about your characters through doing karaoke, which I think is a really clever idea for a game, GM-less. And I love the kind of Broadway playbook style book for that. I think that's really great. I'm also going to point towards, again, From Midgard to Eternity, which is now funding, um, by Armando Holler and Hippolyta. Um, Definitely get your hands on this and fund it. Like it's good. I'm excited to see this book, and also like this is by some really great, um, you know, like South American creators who you should support and give money, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna be selfish too. Uh, Fucking look at my game, Biotropication. Keep an eye out. Um, do y'all have anything that you'd like to point folks towards? Oh shit, that's notes. Hang on, let me close that window. Oops, that's fine.
I really wonder how karaoke game work.
Yeah.
I love
It
different
sounds like
games.
something I would love to play, to be honest.
Which
It
game?
sounds like something
Oh, the
Michelle would
character.
love to play. The joke
Yeah,
games.
it sounds like my thing.
Yeah.
Sounds like Michelle a lot.
Yeah.
Hell
Oh
yeah.
my god. I'll be looking out for the release on this one.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, we're gonna let's take a. How do y'all feel about like just a 5 minute break?
All right.
That's
Okay.
fine.
Please send your
Yeah.
emails to darlingdemoneclipse@gmail.com in the audience, so you can ask us questions, or you can ask them in chat. I'm not a stickler. All right, we'll be right back in 5. Hello, everyone. We are back. We're gonna answer your emails, so you better have sent them, because I can't really answer. I can't answer emails that are just kind of like in your head. They do have to be sent directly to my inbox.
Sometimes it's maybe.
So yeah. Hang on. I've received a communique that I just need to quickly. Sometimes I check my email and I realize that I have things in it, like people send me things. And I need to, okay. So let me. Here we go. First, a set of questions from Duck, from Ulysses Duckler. Uh, questions for the delinquent duo in no particular order. Question one. I'm gonna ask these in order, anyways. Um, with respect to safety rules and incorporating kinks into TTRPGs, what is something American game makers and players can learn from the Latin American TTRPG scene?
Okay, there's one thing we forgot to mention, right? Me, the
Yeah,
wild
yeah.
bugs.
There's a thing that we haven't talked about.
So we have this extra book that's not released yet,
Mm,
which we call Wild Bodies. It's rules for sex.
cool.
It's an expansion for Wild Ties with some kinky rules, spicy rules, and if you want to incorporate the roleplay of sex in your game.
Yeah. Uh, w- we talk about safety tools more on white bodies than white ties, but in both of the books, it's an important thing. We don't suggest any safety tool like, oh, use the X card, use this.
Mm,
We just like, you have to talk with your group. You have to make sure everyone's being respected. And if someone doesn't like what's going on, you have to change it. The game is for everyone having fun. And when we are talking about sex in the wild bodies, we talk a lot about this. Like if someone doesn't wanna talk about this specific kink, you don't you can't talk about it. If someone doesn't wanna uh, play out the sex scene, like you can declare your characters had sex because having sex in white ties give you bonus points, give you like how can I benefits.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you can just say like, ah, I'll go and have sex with this character, which can be an NPC or a player character, or you can describe the sex scene, the sex moves, what you're doing. So that's how we do it. More like trusting in our players to do it right than teaching it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's something that I've heard from other creators who, I mean, I'm also a person who makes some, uh, some, I make some games, some like, kinky games. Um, I I do think it's really important to encourage like just discussion and not think too much about the tools, because like people know about the tools at this point. I think a lot of it does have to be about asking questions, absolutely, and
Yeah,
talking to
I
each
feel
other.
like the tools will not do their job if the people do not talk, right?
Yeah,
I feel like talking is needed. I think it's important to have this communication open. Like the tools can be a part of having the communication open, but they're not going to do all the work for you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Question two from Duck. Uh, this is, I guess, for you two. With Magic the Gathering now strongly tied to D&D, since you are both disgusting Yu-Gi-Oh fans, what can other TTRPG systems learn from Duel Monsters, narratively or mechanically?
Okay, so
What
I
not
feel
to
like
do? Look at Yu-Gi-Oh and don't copy that, and you're gonna be fine.
no, I honestly feel like there's a thing in Yu-Gi-Oh that I take part in my RPG things.
Mhm.
It's like if you look at Magic the Gathering in D&D, they usually have like a very specific kind of tone and aesthetic Like, you have the joke things, but they're usually just framed as this is a joke thing. Don't take this seriously, right? In Yu-Gi-Oh, everything goes. Right?
Yeah.
You can have a match when someone is playing with like giant space mechas against a player that has a deck of plushie dolls, right?
Yeah.
And Yu-Gi-Oh is so unashamed of being weird. And I feel like if I'm gonna take a serious response out of this, it's that don't be ashamed to be weird. Like, make a game to be weird. Do some fun shit, right? And have fun with it. Like, at some point, I was narrating this super silly RPG. It was about dead pirates, undead pirates,
I
and
was one of the dead pirate.
yeah, no, it was one of the dead pirates. And I hadn't planned for that, but at some point I just had the silliest idea in my mind, and I thought, oh, like the marine official who is hunting them is their Captain Zax. I just had the idea mid session, and I just ran with it. I just made a lot of jokes, a lot of moments, and it became very memorable. It became a lot of fun. There were a lot of interactions that came out of it. So I'm like, yeah, just be weird, just have fun, just throw some wild ideas at your table and see what sticks. Uh, like the usuals, the what we call in card games the staples.
Hmm.
They are there for a reason. They are safe, but if you go out of the safe zone, you can find a lot of fun in the games. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
go with that.
I agree.
I think you can take character design from Yu-Gi-Oh, but
Hmm.
not rules and mechanic.
Yeah,
Because
Yeah.
don't take the mechanics from Yu-Gi-Oh. Like, from a
yeah,
Yu-Gi-Oh player, it's way too convoluted.
I will say, my friend many years ago made a game called what is it called? These cards have hearts, which is uh, a Yu-Gi-Oh. A Yu-Gi-Oh. I would say it's a Yu-Gi-Oh anime PBTI. I highly recommend
Oh,
it. So give that
I
a look.
love it.
I will take a look at that.
I love
Yes.
it.
Okay. Question 3 from Duck. Uh, quick. Pick one inconvenient TF to live with forever. Tar body, multiple heads, or growing really big. Tar body.
Tarbody.
Heads.
Why heads? Why heads?
Because if I have multiple heads, I can do multiple stuff with my
Oh.
heads.
You have one
I could
body.
I could eat a burger and a candy at the same time,
Oh.
or I could watch a movie and sleep at the same time.
Huh. That's true. Yeah, no, that's fair. Tar body for me is just like it would be the least inconvenient. I could like there's a hypothetical world in which I could like have a writing desk that's made for a tar body. And also like listen, ladies. It's- sorry. No, I think
I,
would be some fun opportunities there.
Now, I just think like it's hard for me, the growing big and the tar body. But the thing is, the growing big is how big. Like, it's circumstantial. There is a threshold that I'm like, okay, this is not fun anymore. But the
I'm
tar body for me is just a hit. It's just, no,
Yeah,
this is
it's
always
just cool.
good. This is just good. This is always perfect. That's it.
none of these are inconveniences for Michelle. None.
Yeah, no, none of
Fair
these
enough.
are inconveniences.
Uh, Papa Cola asks, but two heads, same mind or different minds? Because that seems troublesome. I mean, listen, it could be
Same,
either.
same mind.
Oh,
Same way.
Because I want to feel everything from the heads.
hmm. Cool.
It would be a shame if like you ate a burger with a head and the other one's like, oh, I
Oh,
didn't
that
get to
sounds
eat the
good.
burger.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you eat the whole burger, man? Come on.
Uh, the
Share, come
fourth
on.
and final question from Duck. As you keep updating and adding to it, what will the final form of Wild Ties look like? Wild Ties AP, when? And if you could have any furry artist do splash art for your game, who would be your top choice?
Okay.
Couple of questions in there.
We don't have like a lot planned extra for Wild Ties aside from bodies. Like, I'm gonna get back to some late work, then I'll get back to the art and bodies. And I don't think we have much planned after that.
Yes,
To be
the
completely
final
honest.
form is already out. It's the one in the beach.
Yeah.
That's the
I
final.
feel like if I were to get like a furry artist to do stuff for the book, oh, that's a tough one. Um, honestly, there's this. I think they're Japanese. There's this Japanese illustrator called Uta. They do a lot of really good drawings with characters of different sizes, and I think the way that they sell perspective and size is really fun. So I would love some art by Uta if I could just grab anyone.
Hell yeah.
Well, my favorite furry artist is Michele, of course. But I would like to see Lauren Faust and the My Little Pony chin
Oh
doing
yeah.
Oh,
some.
it would be fun to have some.
I really like My Little Pony. I have like a giant pinkie pie staring me right now, so I would like to see how that would go.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Next is questions from Goblin, who is uh I would say a VIP question asker, a gold star, a diamond of question asking. Because consistently they ask like 5 or 10 questions every week. It's great. Um, so, question one: have you ever experienced TTRPG play focused on survival, such as hunting for food, finding water, and making shelter? Do you think that survival could be a focus for a campaign?
I feel like survival can absolutely be a focus for a campaign because I played a game that was about survival.
Hmm.
What the
It
one
was
that
the Year Zero game.
okay.
But personally, I don't think that's for me. I just didn't enjoy it as much because I prefer to focus usually on the narrative. So I felt like, oh, I need to take care of the survival. I need to take care of the mechanical part of the survival in order to go back to the part that I really want. That's the narrative part. So personally, I'm not gonna say that I'm a fan of the idea, but I absolutely think it can work because
I have
some people do it already.
I have DM'd zombie apocalypse games before. I really like it. I think you can do survival games with white ties because you can do anything with white ties. It's almost a generic tabletop RPG.
Yeah,
There are not specific mechanics for it, but during our White Body's first playtest, yeah, we were supposed to like make a game with sex, and I DM'd an horror game. It was something inspired in Jigsaw movies.
Hmm.
Do you
That's
remember
fun.
that, me?
Yeah.
Michelle?
Sorry.
Do you remember that?
what?
You played that.
I what?
Do you
I didn't
remember
catch.
the Jigsaw movies White
Yeah,
Body game?
yeah, I do.
So it was like you have to survive this crazy uh, traps, and rich people wanted to see the tourists killing each other. So it was like something like uh,
Yeah,
this coliseum. And since the furries were trapped for lots of days, they ended up having sex. So
Good.
you can have a surviving game, and with surviving comes sex.
I think it was
Really?
one of those things that like the sex became a primal release of the tension.
Yes, because
Right.
we were using the sex rules.
Uh,
If you don't have sex, you start to having to lose points in your rolls. So you gotta fuck
good.
someone.
Love that. Um, I love Dr. Moreau. I think actually has some fun survival elements. And then also I was actually going to mention this, but Lilith, my friend Lilith has said, um, yeah, my friend Lilith's game, Euphoria 2180, I think is a fairly good survival game. Where it's like you're in a wasteland and you need to like get food and You can like build tents and stuff. You know, it's less survivally after a point because you can just like uh make or like buy everything, or the currency in it is food. Like it's called cyclical currency, and it's like every one of them is a meal. Um, but
Oh.
I do think like if you're trying to actually play that game properly, you're probably gonna wind up doing some survival stuff because like you can cook to improve your stats for like a day, uh, and you can do a lot of cool stuff with that game. It's great. Yeah. So to answer, I think survival games, yes, should do it. I think it's a cool idea. Um, Question two. Any recommendations for TTRPGs that focus on two-player, potentially risque play? I kind of want to do something with my boyfriend that could both be fun and action-filled, but include, ahem, other activities. I mean, they said I know you were like just about to open a Kickstarter on a two-player romance game, so I thought this could be a natural place to advertise it. Yeah, Biotropication. But let me find some ones that are actually not made by me, so that I don't sound like a fucking raging narcissist. uh, you could probably get sexy with Jess Levine's Eye of the High Ground, and I think you should. Um, Looking at if y'all have ones, I'm looking through my library.
Yeah, I'm thinking like what would be a good one for like risque play.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't think I know many that are like tailor made for that. There's specifically, oh, this game was made with spicy stuff in mind. Because honestly, I can just slap it on any game that I play, but
You
but
could
I don't
actually,
think I have many suggestions. Like I have Wild Bodies that we're gonna release a little later this year, but
Yes, and that there's
oh,
this
there's
part.
the Doc is mentioning the to change two-player modules.
oh yeah, true. Um, I think you'd find a way to not play Let These Mermaids Touch Your Dick maybe solo. I think you could find a way to play that with someone. Um, that's a good one. Let me. I wonder if I could like use tags on itch to find some good ones.
We literally say it in white bodies. Like if the players want to stop the game and have an orgy, you can
Yeah.
do it. But
That's awesome.
Like
and
sometimes things can get heated up. So if you
yeah,
need to, just
and you can totally play white bodies with just two people. It's fine. It works.
yeah.
Princess with a Cursed Dick is solo. Doc. Um, any game with a dual system, yeah,
For instance, with the cursed. Oh my god,
A
that's
dual.
me.
yeah.
That's me.
Every duo is inherently erotic if you think really hard about it.
Real.
For instance, with the cursed deck is me playing Yu-Gi-Oh.
I listen. I will be making more horny two player. This is. It must be done. It has to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love it. I love this concept of two players game, sex game.
yeah. I'm sure that there
Yeah.
are more. If people find them, please send them to me because I would love to send those out or like to talk about those. Um, Question three. Oh, this is an interesting one.
Hmm.
How could one ingratiate oneself into the queer TTRPG scene? I am 1 year into having friends, but sadly they aren't well versed in this hobby, and I'm looking to gain more comrades. That's tricky.
Yeah, I think if you go to me and Michele, we are part of this project called Contos Lúdicos, which means how can I translate Contos
Sorry,
Lúdicos?
It's
you're very
like
quiet.
Sorry?
your volume is
You're just
very
you were
low.
very quiet.
What? But
Yeah,
I didn't touch anything. Oh my god.
Okay,
Okay.
you're good now.
Okay, I'm good now. So we are part of this project called Playful Tales, which brings RPG to public places like public squares or libraries. So if you have some of these in your area, go to these events, tabletop RPG events, stores, and you can make friends there. You don't need to convince your friends to play. You can make friends that already like it.
Yeah, that's very true. Like um I definitely live in an area as well that does not have a lot of people, but also like I'm like probably going to be trying to run some Sapphic World for some uh for some horny trans woman who I don't know. So you know, like you just sometimes you gotta like yeah go to your LGS and start running games. Just like like definitely look around in your area. Or if you want to play online, you know, as Lilith mentioned, like you know, uh my community is a I would say a pretty good place to meet people who are into you know that's TTRPGs in that uh you know queer TTRPGs. Possum Creek Games like Patreon Discord I think especially, but also like the Reliquary Street Station is a great place. There are a lot of really good places to meet people virtually.
Yeah.
Um, but in person, yeah, definitely like look to see what's being done in your local area and try and meet up and join up. Um, yeah. Question 4. Oh, this is interesting. Do you know of any TTRPGs that emulate the surreal settings of games like Mario or Minecraft? I know this is a very strange question, but I've always found the absurdist settings of these cultural monoliths so intriguing due to the arbitrary decisions that have exploded outwards as these works have become larger and larger.
Honestly, I have a very good similar one to recommend.
Yeah.
It's the Adventure Time RPG. Because
Oh.
it's the same vibe, right? It's the whimsical fantasy adventure, super colorful, and it's one of those things that everything can happen. Like Super Mario, you go in a new stage and there's this snake that's made of cacti piled on top of one another. You can absolutely have these kind of things in like Adventure Time RPG. So it's
Okay,
the
so
first one that comes to my mind immediately.
me, this
Mm.
Adventure Time RPG, it's originally a book in Spanish. It has a Portuguese version, but it doesn't have an English version.
It does not have an English
It
version.
It
does not.
doesn't, and they're making a really
Oh
bad
my
English
god,
version of it, or they're making a really bad
that's
English teacher. It's going to be a 5e thing, which I'm not excited
oh
about. Yeah.
oh
Yes,
that's so shocking because the like not a 5e thing like the Adventure Time RPG. I
yes,
feel like
it
it
has
has
so
been
many
so
mechanics.
often recommended as like an entry point of RPG for people, a great game to play with kids and stuff. That I thought that you know it existed in English.
It's an English product like the cartoon, so
Huh.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
I'm a
wild.
little shocked actually.
yeah, we are talking about. Uh, I don't know if you guys can see it, but you're talking about this book here. Uh, I just put it the link on the chat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh,
But I think like uh I need to think now because I know some more, but I need to think.
yeah, I'd have to
So
think a bit about it.
Let me take a look at my folders here because I have a bunch of
I love
PDFs.
Tales of Equestria.
Oh, oh yeah,
Yeah.
Tales of Equestria. I would also like
Yeah.
if you're thinking about like absurd things with like an internal logic that kind of branches out into these weird things. I would say Usabe's Bed and Breakfast is actually a really good game for that. Um, I would also point towards Roll for Tarrasque's Brave Zenith, um, which
Oh
is a
yeah, Brave
setting,
Zenith, absolutely.
yeah, which is a setting that has like a very consistent internal logic where it's like marine and post-apocalyptic. So you have like evil sea urchins and like a rifle that is like a pinball plunger. Um, it's very very good. What else? Ultraviolet. I think Grasslands. If you're looking for like a setting for an OSR game, I think is a um good thing for that. Uh, yeah, I do like I really like that how you spoke about it, Goblin, where it's like this kind of branching out logic. I think that's a really like this absurd logic that just kind of like goes to its natural endpoint is really neat.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, but there's Fate, but Fate is listen. I have my opinions on Fate. I don't think Fate is a very good game. But that's just me. Um.
That's not
Uh.
just you.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Um.
And I feel like I think when a person asks something like, "Oh, I want something to emulate the vibe of Super Mario," I don't think they're looking for like a generic system. I think they're looking for something that, gives them a direction that looks like Super Mario and Minecraft.
Yeah. Um.
I've never played Minecraft.
It's a fun
I've never
game.
played Minecraft, but I think I know enough about it from like speedruns.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's a square and you break things.
Yeah, I know some people who did speedruns of Minecraft for a while, so
It speed runs, but the game doesn't end. How do you
yeah,
speed
it's
run?
like it has a goal because you can find some secrets and you can find the dragon. So the speed run is how fast you
Oh,
can defeat the dragon. So
Right.
that's the thing.
so D&D, you can fight dragons in D&D.
Those D&D speed runs.
Yeah.
D&D speed
Um. Okay. And then, last question from Goblin. A problem I have found with all of my own unfinished projects is I never find them as novel as another's work. I've begun to wonder if it is just a result of the fact I made it. Is this something you struggle with too? And if so, how do you counteract that feeling? Hmm, that's
So
interesting.
I do. I understand gobbling. I'm working by myself on Mundal actually, and I get very lazy to work on it sometimes. And then I spend days without even looking at it, because I have my work as well. I have lots of stuff to do. I have lawyers boring stuff to do, and I can't just spend my time working on my book. And when I finish work, lawyer work, I'm tired, and I like, I don't want to do this right now. But when I do, when I force myself, I have so much fun doing it. I like working on Hundal. I like testing the weird D10 mechanic. Like it's like D10 pulse. So you grab 30 D10s, like 10 to 30, and you play it. It's weird, it's new. I feel so good creating this. So just love your work. If you don't love it, change it for something you love, and it's gonna help.
yeah, I feel like for me, I'm in a position where talking about this is a little different, just because maybe it's the situation that the person who sent the question in is as well, but it's like always I always write RPGs from a place of hobby, right? It's always because it's fun to do it. And that's the thing for me. Like I'm not very concerned with how original my thing is going to be. I'm just concerned with, am I having fun with this? And that's the whole thing for me. Like I have this game that I made a little before I started working with Wild Ties. It's called Getting the Robot Pilot. It's 8 pages, but one of them is a cover, the other one is like credits, and the other one is the character sheet. So it's like a
Yeah.
5 page game with very short text with a bunch of illustrations. So it's a really, really short game. It's a giant robot game. There are a few of those around. It just came from a thing when I was like, I was in a bit of a vibe of playing robot games, but most of the robot RPGs, the giant robot RPGs that I saw, were really focused on the tactical aspect and the mechanics and the numbers. And I get the appeal, but I was like, I don't want to play that right now. I want
All
to
right.
play something super simple. I want to play something that I don't have to think about it, right?
Yeah.
So so I wrote Getting the Robot Pilot, and it's a super short RPG for people who want to play with giant robots and not care too much about very complex mechanics. So I
Yeah.
made this little system with D4s just because I wanted the irony of using the smaller number dice
Right.
on the regular kit, and and it was that. I just had fun doing it, and I think it became something like original just because I was doing something that made sense for me, right? And
Yeah.
I feel like I wanted to do something a little more different with the system, and then I showed it to a friend, and she was like, "Oh, these numbers are not gonna match up. Just test it. The numbers are not gonna match up." And I tested it, and I was like, "Oh no, the dice system is broken. It doesn't work." And I took some inspiration from Retropunk actually, and I made a new dice system that's a little more similar to that one, and it worked. And I'm like, okay, that's good. And it's the same thing that Duck just said on chat. Like, if you're having fun with someone else's system, just
Yeah,
make a setting, make a something that uses that system instead of making a system from scratch. Because making a system from scratch is an ordeal by itself,
it is.
right?
I wanna tell a fun story about this.
Mhm.
First of all, I love Get in the Robot. I DM'd one of the most fun games in my life. What I called it like being stressed makes you bald, but being bald is what makes you stressed. This was the name of the one shot. So I love Get in the Robot. Thanks for that game, Michele. Uh,
You're welcome.
if you're having more fun with someone else's system, make stuff for your system. This is absolutely true.
Mhm.
This fun story is about Splatter Girls, which is another game I wrote. I'm gonna link it. I just had a dream, and the dream was this game. Like it was just something gave this game to me. Like I had a dream about the pages, about the roles, and it was in Powered by the Apocalypse, and I just woke up and wrote it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, what was crazy. It was kind of crazy,
Sometimes you
and
just
of
get in
course,
there.
yes, it was kind of a simple game.
Mhm.
It's very mechanical actually, so I didn't want to create a new mechanic. I use a tabletop RPG. Sorry, I use it Powered by the Apocalypse
Mhm.
because I love it and because I have fun with this system. I tried to make system, but I kept with the what the dream gave me, which was PBTA.
Hell yeah.
And
I
I
feel
really
like
love it. You guys should check her out. I'm really proud of it.
well, I feel like an element of this question that's important that I want to bring up is doubt. Um, I think it can be very easy to say don't doubt yourself, but like getting there is really hard. Like actually doing that is really difficult. Um, and so like the suggestions that I would give, I think like people you know it's perhaps oversaid at this point, but I think it's very true. Which is fake it till you make it. Like a lot of putting out work and like being in these spaces is like a lot of it is muster. Like I'm okay with like if I come off as like a bit of a narcissist if it means that like my that I if it means that like I'm able to produce work because like sometimes that's the way it has to be. um and I also think like showing your work to other people, saying like, hey, do you like this? And then I think there are a lot of public forums that you can show your work off in and get show works in progress in. Making games does not need to be a an isolating process, and I think that I think it's really like I think it's important to think about the process of making your games, not just about like when you sit down with the editor that you paid or are paying to do the thing, but also um you know, talking to people, asking people, hey, can I show you this thing, or putting your game in places where people will just look at it, or putting bits of your game in places. Um, I think that helps. That at least that's helped me, realize, oh yeah, my work is really novel. I am doing something fun here. Um, yeah,
I want to just add a little thing to that question. Because you mentioned the fake it till you make it thing, and honestly, a bunch of big RPGs have been published that way.
yeah,
Mhm.
As we mentioned, you know, D&D was very inaccessible here in Brazil for a while. So some publishers they just made their D&D and it's very similar, but it's theirs. Sometimes you don't need like the most original thing in the world to make something original, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes if you put a little bit of what makes you interested in a game, put something that gives you a passion for it in the game, that small thing, it's already a reason for that game to exist, right? That's already enough for things to like to justify the existence of that game instead of just, oh, I can just play that other game. But no, this one has this little small of passion that I put in, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
It is a little thing that's just you, and I think that's important and valuable and good.
And when you talk about like show this to your friends and stuff like this, I remember CDR was like this at the beginning. Like I showed Michelle, you asked if she wanted to make art for it, and then things went on, and there was this day, the releasing event. It was during tabletop RPG and board games convention in Brazil.
Mhm.
Me and Michelle were both there, and people were crazy buying it and asking us to autograph the book. It was so crazy. Like
Oh yeah.
I never imagined I would autograph lots of books. Like people making a line for me and Michelle to autograph it. And since Michelle is the artist, she had the good pen, so I had to wait for her. She had to wait for me. And it was crazy. It was crazy. It was just like my little project, and it became so big.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Like I think these things can take you by surprise. Um
Yeah.
well, I think we'll wrap up there. It was really great having both of you on. Uh
It was a pleasure.
is there
Yeah.
any last things that y'all want to point folks towards before we wrap up?
Okay, if you guys wanna follow me on Twitter, it's at Naomi Chi. My name 2 times and CHI. That sounds really good in Portuguese. Okay, it's like my motto.
Yeah.
Let me grab my link here. I have a card link, a card page that I made. You
I
have all
think I
my.
have that actually. I can probably get that on there real quick.
Yeah.
I just put it. Yeah.
Oh, you did. Okay, cool.
And you can get all my social media there. I am catching up to some late work, and I am working on some projects that will be announced really soon. So keep an eye on my social media because I will not shut up about it as soon as I can talk about it.
Awesome.
Yeah, and if you guys have
So
a game or a text in English you want it in Portuguese, just ring me.
yeah,
Hell
let
yeah.
Naomi know.
Let me
and
know.
um and I think like yeah, support indie creators because you can find so many amazing stuff from small publishers, from solo authors and stuff like that. Just because people like making stuff. That's art.
Yeah. Um, I would say especially support like Brazilian and more broadly Latin American TTRPG designers because like the fucking current like if you live in the U.S. give give some U.S. dollars to some Latin American and Brazilian TRPG
Yes, give
projects
me
because
dollar.
it's the exchange
I love
rates,
dollar.
folks. You get on those
Yeah.
fucking exchange rates. All right. Um,
Yes,
Yeah.
I
and,
love
and it's like
Brazilian
it's
dollar.
something that actually makes a difference because it's not gonna cost a lot for people who earn their money in USD,
mhm.
but for us it makes like a bigger difference, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It costs less for you and it gives more to them. So like if I can buy buy specifically Michelle and Naomi's games, but also more broadly buy games from
Yeah.
folks in the global south. Um yeah. All right. We're gonna wrap up here. Thank you so much for being on, and take care, everyone. We're gonna raid your dad the squid. Bye.
Remember,
Bye
if
bye.
you don't like what you see, you can change it. It's up to you, really. Goodbye, good luck, and have fun